We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Hướng thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp vui gặp nhật thiết chúng sanh. Thịnh chiến diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã mùng, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đạc lạc, tất chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Đàn Thổ Sư Chế Đô Ye Ở La Hư Đi San Miao San Pu Tô Xie. Nam mô Tạc Tạc Tha Tô Ya Đa Ya A La Ha Đề Tam Miệu Tam Bồ Đà Thoát. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu sheng 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 wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu wo jin jie wen de shou zhi yuan jie Ru Lai Zhe Shi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Ching Liang, Great Master YongHua, all good monks and nuns, and all good knowing advisors, Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大师、师父上人、各位出家人、各位善知识，弥陀佛。 Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Thanh Lương Đại sư Hòa Thượng Thiên Hóa, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Hello everyone. Today is the 19th of January 2024. We are here at Way Mountain Temple to continue discussing the prologue to the Avatamsaka Sutra. We are on slide 736. Thank you all for joining us. Here we are continuing to discuss how the Dharma masters in the past scholars decided to classify the Buddha's teachings into different types. Here there's a group who advocated dividing them into 4 different kinds of teachings, where towards the end of it, I believe this is the 3rd or 4th representative who advocated, who was led by Dharma Master Yuan, a disciple of a Korean Sunim, a Korean monk who studied Master Chutra's teachings, and he advocated dividing the Buddhist teachings into 4 different types. Okay, we're going to go through them right now. Okay. 736. What he meant by the 4 teachings was: 1, the teaching of confused truth attached to error, which is that of the ordinary common people.
言四教者，一迷真，一直教，当比凡夫。
Okay, so the first group, according to this scholar monk, is that the first group of teaching of the four was the confused teaching. That is mi zhen. They're confused about the truth, and they to yi. They attach to yi is different. Okay, yi here refers to they advocate something that is not commonly known, that is not a common perception, common beliefs, common knowledge. Okay, and because of that, they stand out. They say, "Oh wow, I never thought of it before." But actually, the follower of these teachers, they were impressed by the insight, but not necessarily the truth. The insight was confused about the truth. Okay, just because you have a different way of thinking, different way of looking at things, analyzing things, does not necessarily mean that you know the truth. You understand the truth. And this is so typical of yi chi, meaning you attach to the unusual. Okay, and let me give you an example. In our universities, the philosophy department is guilty of this yi chi. Okay, meaning that they started with studying the teachings of the Socrates and Pascal, Descartes, and so forth, the ancient philosophers. And then through that, now they said, well, I need to invent something new in order to justify my existence. Okay? And so I'm going to be the new Descartes, the new Pascal, the new Socrates, the new Plato. And so they invented concepts, okay, intellectual concepts that are different. Okay, and that's what happens. I've read, for example, the current professors' teachings in philosophies, and they build upon the peers who advocated a certain theory, certain viewpoint, and then another one on top of it, another one on top of each other. Eventually, it's so confusing. They are so far away from the truth. And of course, the thinking is unusual. It's different, totally different from our ordinary way of looking at life. Okay? And this is so ludicrous that they are professors and we give them money to do research on these things and teach our children about philosophy. So I'm telling you, please don't send your children, dissuade your children from learning about philosophy. It is totally erroneous. They're prone to errors and they're seeking for the unusual. Nonsense. Okay? Is that these are the adherents, are the followers of these followers are the ones who are looking for the unusual, the extraordinary, instead of the truth. They're confused about the truth and look for the extraordinary, the unusual. Isn't it sad? And these are scholars, these are professors at our universities. Prestigious universities. It's scary. And that's why they're called ordinary people. So confused about the truth. Okay? They get lost in their imaginations instead of understanding the truth about the universe. If you look at, for example, I was appalled when I look at their theorems and their like Hegel, for example, has a master and slave theory. You heard of it before? Master is that there's a relationship between the master and the slave who serves the master, right? That's a commonly known fact. In all cultures, you have a master, we have a slave working for the master, right? And Hegel's theory, he's from Germany back then, so he says, it's true that you start out with the master being served by the slave, but eventually the master becomes the slave because he's dependent on the slave serving him. So who's the master after all? You see that? So those are very insightful. But the new philosophies, the new crap they imagine nowadays is way out there. It's all nonsense. It has nothing to do with life or how to improve your quality of life. It's totally useless. It's the example, the example of Yi attaching to the unusual to impress others. It's so sad, the philosophy, the state of philosophy in the world nowadays. Okay? It's totally useless, totally confused. This is a primary example of that. That's why the teaching of ordinary people, of these people, the scholars and so forth, are basically confusion. And that's why, to us, to the sages, they're called ordinary and common people, which is a polite term. If you classify it as ordinary and common, you are confused, and you're confused about the truth, and you tend to attach to the unusual, the extraordinary, instead of the truth. Any problems with that? And you listen to this and you hear, whether it's in Vietnam, Korea, and so forth, you're attached to, in Brazil, jungles, they are so attached to the unusual, the extraordinary. These India, they scam each other, pretending to have spiritual penetration and so forth, okay, to get donations as spiritual teacher. Okay, I can fly, I can make a diamond appear. And it worked. 738. Okay, so that's the first group where they're so confused. They have that issue. Number two, second group of teaching is a half teaching of part of the truth, which is that of the two vehicles. Okay, that's the text.
2. 真一分半教，当比二圣。
Okay, for our information, these are the jargons you should be aware of. Remember, in prior years, I didn't care about the jargon so much because there weren't many of you, and we were not taken seriously. Now we have a lot of followers. How many there are now? Over 200 people? 5. Yeah, look at that. I think Francis was still trying to catch up on the first one about confused, ordinary people. Yes, 5.
Thank you for inquiring, Master. We recently just surpassed 3,200 subscribers on our English channel.
Yeah. Okay.
For which we are eternally grateful to our YouTube audience, who on any given evening we can have over 300 unique viewers joining us for your Dharma talks and sutra lectures.
Wow, that's quite a few. You see, because of that, we are compelled to tell you more about the theory and the jargon, because we're going towards the mainstream instead of being extreme. Okay? Extreme like common people. Okay, second group. The group from two vehicles. Okay? They differ from ordinary people because they have wisdom. We call them enlightened. Enlightened because unlike ordinary people who are confused about the truth, these people actually have wisdom. So how do they know? Their wisdom because they are able to be enlightened. Okay? And I will explain that to you a little bit later. Okay, hang in there. Okay, don't get too excited. Okay, some more coming your way. So they're enlightened. So this enlightened is a Buddhist jargon that's very specific. In order to be called enlightened, you need to have to meet a certain criteria. Not just because you call yourself, I'm enlightened, or someone calls you enlightened, therefore you're enlightened. No, you're enlightened because based on the standards of the sages above you, they look at you and say, you meet the criteria of enlightenment because we went through those processes ourselves. So we have countless sages in Buddhism, okay, who went through this process and say, okay, so that is called enlightenment. And the Buddha calls that enlightenment, and all these cultivators, arhats, Parateka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all went through that and say, wow, what the Buddha said is true. You see? So this is verified. Started by the Buddha and verified by his own disciples. You know that. As a teacher, your worst enemies is not all the teachers, it's your own disciples. They're the one who can call you out for who you really are. Okay? And that's why a lot of monks and nuns in our world, they don't want to have disciples because them people can turn on you on a dime. Okay? You offend them, they disappoint at you, and they turn around, they badmouth you, and so forth. You see? So the Buddha has tons of disciples who follow his teachings and certify his teachings. So those are the ones who actually were proofs that the Buddhist teachings was true. All right? As these are called the two vehicles. Okay? They are able to enlighten themselves, but they don't know how to enlighten others. Put in simple terms, they're able to help themselves. They're able to end all their suffering, but they cannot help us end our own sufferings. That's why they're limited. They can only help themselves. They cannot help their wives. They cannot help their parents. They cannot help their children. They can't. Okay? That's why they called their teaching, the Buddha taught them what is called half-teaching. Okay? That's a jargon. Half-teaching versus whole teaching. Half word versus whole word. Is that clear? Okay? It's because these people were limited. Therefore, the Buddha says, I tell you what, you're suffering so much. Let me tell you how to end your own suffering. That's what all you're primarily concerned with. So I teach you that. Okay? And that's what is called half-teaching. You only know how to help yourself. That's what the one half. But you cannot help others. That's the other half about life. Life is not just about yourself alone. It's about others as well. All right? And that's it called two vehicles, Sanghas and Pratyeka Buddhas. So far, so good? 740. 3. The whole teaching a part of the truth, which is that of the bodhisattvas of initial resolve. 4. The whole teaching of the entire truth, which is that of those who do recognize the treasury of the thus come one.
3. 真一分满教，当比初心菩萨。4. 真具分满教，即当比是如来藏者。
Okay, let's do a minor thing here. Treasury here is cap, because it's a special term. Okay, next one, teaching of the treasury. Okay. All right. Okay, so we talked about the two groups already. Ordinary people groups, they're confused, they're easily excitable, they're impressed by the unusual, the different, okay? The second group is the one who actually are able to help themselves, enlightened to the enlightened, and are able to put an end to all their suffering, but they cannot help put an end to our sufferings, okay? Number 3, those belongs to the bodhisattvas who are taught, according to this monk, the whole teaching, okay? But they call the bodhisattvas initial resolve, okay? And so fourth group is the whole teaching of the whole kahunas, everything, okay? And so when we talk about bodhisattvas, and we talk about enlightened, this is third group here. Fourth group here are in these groups are bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas in Buddhism, again, are special beings, enlightened beings who are certified to the 10 grounds or higher. Is that clear? Buddhism is very clear. There's no beating around the bush. You're enlightened, and you ask you, are you enlightened, small enlightenment or big enlightenment? Bodhisattvas are called bodhisattvas because they reach big enlightenment. All right? Big enlightenment meaning that they're certified to the 10 grounds. Okay, and this is when you should know about these names, because one day it will be your turn to experience this, to reach these grounds. Okay? For Buddhism, for Mahayana, when you become enlightened, that's when you first reach the first ground, bodhisattvahood, which is the name is called the ground of happiness. What we're talking about is that when you reach this level of enlightenment, you know true happiness for change. Before that, it's not true happiness. And at this point here, you are so happy. There's no more suffering. It's so cool. Okay? It's not talk. You feel so happy. You don't need God to help you be happy. You don't need anyone to make you happy. You feel so happy inside of you. You need nothing. You need no one to feel this happy. Your happiness now depends on your parents, depends on your husband, depends on your children, depends on your wife, depends on your wife, depends on ex-wife, and so forth. You see, it's dependent happiness. This happiness here is you are happy, so happy, and unconditional happiness. It depends on nothing. It's fantastic. And that's why you have wisdom. You wisdom because you know how to be happy. Truly happy. Huh? And among which If you say you spend your energy, for example, trying to make money, pursuing fame and profit, thinking you make it happy, actually, it's a conditional happiness, isn't it? Your happiness depends on money. Your happiness depends on how many fans you have, how many subscribers you have, which, please. Okay, so that's why it's conditional happiness. This ground happiness here, you're so happy so freely, and it's such a special feel. I highly recommend it. You will not regret it. Okay? Those who got to this point and say, looking back and say, wow, it was a tough road, a lot of hardships, but the reward is incredible. Okay? That's why the first time in your life you feel so happy for you. Anyone has any problems? It's such a cool thing. I strongly urge you to experience it. It's well worth it. Don't want you to think small. You can think, I'm President of the United States, of Russia, of China, and so forth, and Vietnam, so forth. That's so small compared to this. Okay? All right? So that's why it's called ground of happiness. Number 2, ground or living field. And then you realize that there's something called purity and impurity. And naturally, when you go to second ground, you detach yourself from filthy things, unwholesome things. You just don't want to do unwholesome things. That's why you yourself leave field. Okay? You don't want to do, to be associated with unclean things, such as stealing, such as killing. It's filthy. Yeah? All right? So that's why when you go beyond happiness and you begin to say, okay, my happiness will be happier when I am free from filth. So from 1 to 2, first ground to second ground, your happiness increases. Doesn't stop. Okay? That's why they move up. Third ground, emitting light. Now when you move up to the third level, then you begin to emit light, because this light here, it's a light of wisdom. Okay? And your heart is kinder than before. You remember, this living field is angry. Cut out! Okay? Cut it off. But here, light here is a light of kindness. Light of bearing with others. You're able to be patient with others, with your children, with your husband. Yeah? I'm giving you a glimpse what wisdom is like. For you, success for you is like, I'm better than you. That kind of thing, right? You so low, you so poor, you so stupid. Here, the more you higher your level of enlightenment, the more wisdom manifests itself. Okay? And you become so much more special, remarkable, outstanding. Okay? That's why now you emit light of wisdom. So much light. Okay? And then you go to the next one. The light doesn't stop there. Now your light becomes blazing. Blazing wisdom here refers to not simply the purity inside of you, okay, your makeup, but wisdom, blazing wisdom here also refers to how, for example, how much more knowledgeable you become. In the fourth level, fourth ground, they are so erudite. They can learn worldly things, worldly knowledge, absorb it like a sponge and master it. Okay? They become very erudite. And the wisdom manifests itself is so impressive. That's why it's called blazing. Not only do they master the worldly knowledge, but they actually add more depth to that knowledge. They're contributing to worldly knowledge, advancing worldly knowledge. They're contributing. Okay, they're helping make it better. All right? Number 5, the ground of difficult conquest. Meaning that at this level here of a bodhisattva, it's very difficult to fight them. When the demons come to them at the prior 4 levels, the demons come to them, they still have a fighting chance against the bodhisattvas. At 5th ground, it's very difficult to defeat the bodhisattvas. That's why below that, okay, we don't ask you to do much. When you 5 or higher, that's when we allow you to help out. We don't send you out yet, okay, to conquer territories from 1 to 4. You still kind of trail behind your habits because you can't do much yet. You may look cool, you may understand a lot of things, but you actually are like weak. Okay? Buddhism, you don't talk. Can you do it or not? Can you save living beings or not? Can you put them on your back and carry them or not? Huh? You don't talk. Okay? And so now, 5th round, you're becoming more useful. Now we can count on you to begin to do things. Below that, it's okay. It's okay. We wait for you to grow up. Okay? 6, ground manifestation. Manifestation here is that not only are you difficult to beat in the 5th ground, 6th ground is that now you have so much wisdom, you can conquer them. Not just beating them, but you conquer them. Is the difference between you beating someone to the pulp and they're afraid. Yes, they run away. 6th ground is that now you can defeat them, but they respect you. Isn't that cool? And that's why they can manifest. I am Mahayana. Okay? Why are we so quiet? You think we all talk? You see, I'm preparing all of you all these years for this. Yeah? Your world is where you are being grown and you planted the seeds to go tread these tracks, okay? And number 7, traveling far, okay? Traveling far means that even though 6 has wisdom, but it's still limited wisdom. 7, traveling far means that with that wisdom, you can do a lot more. You become resourceful. That's why you can go very far. When we send you to Europe, when you're 7, okay, go Europe, and then we leave you alone. Because you can go very far by yourself. Below that, we have to sort of keep an eye on you. Oh, yeah. Nudge you, give you a little bit of nudge. Okay? 7, you begin to be on your own. 8, you are an anchor, not moving. When I say, hey, go to Europe and conquer Europe, and I send you there, and you go, and you land, and you sit down, and no one can move you. No demons can move you. You take over. You think that we all talk? No. We grooming you to do all these things. Okay? Bit by bit. There's a master plan here. It's not a casual thing at all. Okay? So for example, below that, below 8, we have to send you out as commandos. Go and destroy this battery of missiles, okay, and so forth. Blow up headquarters, drones, and so forth. 8 is when you raise a flag. It says, I am Mahayana. Come if you dare. You cannot move me out of here. So quiet. I cannot believe it. It's so quiet everywhere. At all the temples, everyone is, oh. Master has such big visions. No, it's not my vision, it's the Buddha's vision. I'm only interpreting it for you. Okay? This ground not moving here is that we conquer territories. We take over. I want to send someone out there and say, that is Mahayana territory, like it or not. This is BLI territory. That's 8. 9, good wisdom. Okay? This is now because not only are you conquering territories, but you also are able to teach people more. 8 is you're so strong. Okay? No one can move you. Good wisdom is that now you can help teach people. Okay? 8 is simply says, I am here. Move me if you dare. See if you can, and no one can move you. 9 is that not only you can't move me, but actually I can move you. I teach you. Because I have the wisdom to help you. Okay? Any questions? Should I go to 10? Yeah. Why not, huh? Okay, 10. 10 is that when you have so many Dharma doors to teach people. You want tantras? I teach you tantras. You want Hua Tou? I teach you Hua Tou. You want Pure Land? I teach you Pure Land. You want Chan? Piece of cake. Okay? You the Dharma cloud here is this is when the Buddha becomes your teacher. Buddha has come to you and said, you know, your teacher there, that Master YongHua, she's not a Buddha yet, so I have to teach you. 10 is when the Buddha has come and teach you. You become the Buddha becomes your direct teachers. Why? Because you are so important. The Buddhas cannot afford to have you be confused about different Dharma doors in Buddhism. That 84,000 Dharma doors, the Buddha says, I'm going to teach them all to you. See that? See that? See that why that some teachers only teach you so much? When Master YongHua, he teaches you everything. So what does he tell you? He's at least 10th. At least. He's not happy with teaching you alone Chan or Tantras or Pure Land, the whole kahuna. Because Buddha taught him. Buddha has to come to teach you to make sure that you know all the dharmas that you're supposed to know. If Master YongHua teaches you, Master YongHua doesn't know all the dharma doors yet. He's still under training. That's why the Buddha has to come, go over his head and say, I teach you, don't worry. Just follow him. But I teach you. Shh. Don't tell his disciples. Okay? That's why they say, oh, my teacher is only Master YongHua because the Buddha haven't come to teach him yet. Oh, yo. DTT.
전에 마스터께서 자제를 말씀하셨는데 자제할 수 있는 레벨이 오지보살을 말씀하시는 건지 팔지보살을 말씀하시는 건지 질문드립니다.
Master, at what level can we do self-mastery?
Come again.
At what level can we have the self-mastery?
Self-mastery is strong when you're 8. Or higher. Below that, it's kind of difficult to claim that you have self-mastery. Five.
Thank you, Master. Just to share for those of you watching along anywhere else, I think this is the definition of the silence is deafening here at Way Mountain Temple. Thank you for explaining all of this.
Isn't it fascinating?
It's
a big picture of boys and girls. Before, it's just like we BSing and, it's like, hey, let's have a good time. This is a big, it's a big kahuna here. Huh?
It's like the first time you step onto the varsity baseball field realizing, okay, this is for real.
Yep, this is a big league.
So my question is are these the 10 grounds of bodhisattva enlightenment, and then the next step is mahasattva, or is this how the progression works?
8 up are mahasattvas. Xu Yun is 8. Master Xu Yun is only 8. Anyone else? Yes, one.
Thank you, Master. Is this path of the 10 grounds for your Sangha and also lay people?
For everyone. There's no discrimination when it comes down to enlightenment. There's no discrimination against Sangha or lay people, man or woman, child. No different, no discrimination at all. If you're able to, you'll be taught. Yes, in the back. Was there a question in the back?
Master, just stupid question. Master, in this 10 ground, what are you in? What are you in this 10 ground?
You can be a 教主, giáo主. You can be your own, you can set up your own religion. Because you know all the dharmas. You can say, I'm going to set up a school called G.I. Joe School. That's how I'm going to save my followers. Because I know. Yes, 5.
That's my question is, could you elaborate on what would be the foretelling signs that we're moving into the mastery of these grounds?
The telling signs? Your good no advisor will tell you.
So before we move into mastery of these grounds, you would tell us?
Of course, if you're still around. I'm going to call you in Kamchatka and say, hey, remember me?
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? It's so cool, folks. This is the big picture in Mahayana. Okay? All right. 7:44. That's that's an overkill. There's more to come. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, a lot more, if you're interested. Yeah? There's a lot more that Master YongHua hasn't taught his disciples. A lot more that I need to teach you, so that you maintain your unsurpassed lead over them. The first teaching refers to all those of outside ways who are confused about true principles and give rise to erroneous speculations on a vast scale.
出教为诸外道迷于真理，广起义计。
Okay, so now Master Jingliang is elaborating for your sake. Okay, the first group here, a group of ordinary common people, remember, they're confused about the truth and they're impressed by the extraordinary, the unusual. Okay, all of them. This includes the professors, your professors. Okay, and the externalists, the non-Buddhist teachers, okay, they have some wisdom, but they still are confused. They haven't seen the big picture yet. They are confused about the true principle, okay? And because they're confused about the true principles, they have the wrong understanding and they build on top of it. So they build a house of cards in their speculations. And that's why it's a speculations on a vast scale. That's what I refer to you as those professors. Okay? They are so confused. You only have to go look at the current teachings in philosophy. The latest philosophers, they all are screwed up. Total waste of your life, waste of time, waste of money. Stay away, beware. Let me tell you. Don't be a loser. Yes, one.
Thank you, Master. It says here it's Daniel Carrasco, but he says, Apple has a question. Her question is, are equal and wonderful enlightenment, does that come after 10 grounds?
Yes. All right. Okay. On a vast scale, this is so what's scary about it is that since no one tells them that they're wrong, it snowballs. Their speculations snowballs and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, okay, and becomes uncontrollable. It's very scary, folks. They become so confused. This is not just not the professors, but also the non-Buddhist teachers. They have a limited amount of wisdom. If you put them, let's say, in our desire realm, they have wisdom. They put it in the form realm, they have some wisdom. They put it in formless realm, they have some wisdom. But beyond that, they have no clues. So their understanding here, they add more and more theories. It's still within the realm here. And it becomes more and more confused. And that's why it's called erroneous speculation on a vast scale. It's very scary, folks. It's called wasting your life away, pursuing the futile. It's very scary, folks. If you got caught up in these things, I feel sorry for you. It's very difficult to get out because you're so attached to the unusual. Remember? The Master Jing Liang is very precise. Okay? He says, see here, they're confused by the truth because they cannot see the big picture, and they're attached to the unusual. Yi is unusual. Chu is attached to the unusual, the extraordinary, instead of the truth. Very important distinction. Okay? All right. Next, 746. 2, refer to the small vehicle adherents who, with respect to true suchness, according with condition yet not changing, within the two parts of the meaning only speak the manifested principle of the emptiness of beings. It is therefore called the half, like the half word in a nirvana.
2. 为小圣于真如随缘不变二分义中，为说深空所显之理，故名为半，如涅盘半字。
Okay, 747. Now, we just criticize the non-Buddhist teachers that they don't have the big picture. They're confused about the principles, and they are impressed by the unusual. Okay? Now, he's criticizing the second group here, they're criticizing the small sages, who says, the small vehicle, meaning the sound hearers and practical Buddhas and the arhats, they don't understand, they don't have the big picture, they only half. They only taught half of the picture. They can only see half of the picture. That's all they're able in their little brains to grasp. You ask them to add more, the other side, they say, no, that's too much. I can't take it. Okay? So they attach this half here, okay? And so there is a particular thing that you need to pay attention to. What makes them, first of all, different from the first group of confused ordinary people is that they realize that there's no self. That's the first indicator of wisdom, of the truth, of the half-truth. Okay? Meaning that, what does it mean there's no self? Is it just a word? What are the implications, no self? First of all, the ego or the self is a source of all your sufferings. When you suffer, any form of suffering, it's because of that ego. That's why you are suffering. Anyone has any problems with this? You look at people, when they are suffering, you look deeper and deeper, you see that behind the suffering, there's an ego who complains, I am suffering. Yes or no? As long as there's an ego, you will experience suffering. So these small vehicles, they're able to crush the ego so that they put an end to all sufferings. Case in point, when we teach you chant and your legs hurt, yeah? When your legs hurt, what happens? The ego says, stop, stop, it's hurting, I'm hurting, I don't like it, stop. Yeah? Isn't that suffering? It's the ego who says, I'm not happy. My wife is not nice to me. My son doesn't love me anymore. Now he loves girls. You wait for your turn and you see, Okay? So, it's the ego that is the source of all your sufferings. This is Buddhist wisdom from the small vehicle, the half-teaching. Therefore, they realize if you believe that, you follow the training, you follow the instructions, will put an end to your ego and put an end to your suffering. And that's why you are considered to have wisdom. Why is that? Because as long as you have an ego, you're undependable. When you suffer too much, you run away. Yeah? He says, you blame it on your wife. He said, my wife is not nice to me anymore. It's not the same woman I married. Sound familiar? It's her fault now. You run away. You blame it on others because your ego can't take it. You're undependable. You have no wisdom. You cannot handle your own suffering. But when you have no ego, then you're dependable. You will not run away anymore. And it's so important, folks. This is why it's considered wisdom, because in the sea of suffering, of lack of money, lack of recognition, lack of love, lack of friendship, we talked about last night and so forth. We are all suffering so much, okay? It only because of that ego thing. If you put an end to that ego, poof, there's no more suffering. And this is important for you to know. If you are suffering so much, you're heartbroken, that life is not worth living anymore. Anyone? No one? Okay, never mind. Life is not worth living anymore. All you have to do, it's a fact, yes? Anyone ever happened to any of you? Wait a minute. Life is so much suffering, and you can't take it anymore. Instead of complaining and say it's my husband's fault, it is my parents' fault, like your shrink would like to tell you, Mary Jo. No Mary Jo? Anyone remember Mary Jo? Okay, and that's what she does. She says, oh, it's not your fault, it's your parents' faults. Yeah? Okay. Let's get rid of your parents. Take them out of your life, so therefore you're happier. No. When you're so unhappy, instead of blaming this and that, this person or that person, all you have to do, if you're interested, if you're able to, is enter the samadhi of no self, and all sufferings, poof, disappears. You only run away because you still have an ego who wants to run away, who is suffering. Yeah? And if you're suffering and you cross your legs like we train you, and you enter the samadhi of the fourth stage arhat, and enter the zero ego samadhi, okay? Poof! Suffering becomes zero instantaneously. That's why we call you dependable. Because we can teach you to do that, and now you're in control of your emotions. You never run away. Some of them ran away because I forgot to teach them. And that's cruel. You're so cruel. Yes, one.
Thank you, Master. We have a question on a slightly different topic from Venerable Xianshou. Master, is there any level required to be able to be considered as a good knowing advisor?
Depends on where you are. In Hinayana, your first stage arhat, you consider to be a good knowing advisor. Okay, in Master Shinhua's group, I don't know his standards, but seems pretty low. For me, you have to be at least 8. Below that, I don't look at you as a good knowing advisor. I look at you as an idiot. You can't teach. You can't defend. If I assign you to let's say, like which country do I want to go? Let's say Italy. I like pasta. Okay? I send you to Italy. They come and attack you. You have to be able to defend yourself. If not, I have to help you. And what's the point of me sending you to Italy? Huh? Yes. 9.
Emitofuo, Master. Yeah, so sometimes when I get really low, or I guess how do you combat the idea within Buddhist thinking that life is just, even with bliss, is boring and meaningless?
Who feels it's boring and meaningless?
Well,
who?
No one. It's just, that's the thing. It's just like.
What do you mean, no one?
You're just there.
How can you tell me it's no one? I'm asking you, who feels it's boring and meaningless?
The ego.
Huh? Did you raise your hand or what? Huh? And you have to say which number. People have to hear you. The question is very simple. Who feels it's boring and meaningless? Who feels that life is boring and meaningless? Answer me. Give a microphone. Who?
Is it my depression speaking?
I'm feeling it's boring and meaningless. Why can't you give me that answer? You can't even know, you don't even know who's feeling boring and meaningless? You're feeling boring and meaningless. Yeah? Not you.
No, it's an illusion. Like it's just things.
Wait. It's not you?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, this is new.
No, it just sets in. It's just like you're there,
Sets
and
in,
then like
okay.
you're just like, oh, this is really boring. And in 3 generations, no one
Peter,
remember my name.
turn around.
Slap me. Okay, go.
Don't slap him. Punch him on the mouth. And ask him. Ask him, do you feel any pain?
I will, yeah.
So who's feeling the pain?
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, I will feel all these things, right? But then I'll just look at them and go away. You know? And then I'll just keep looking at them and saying, go away.
Aren't you looking at the wrong side of the equation? You look at them and make them go away. Why don't you make yourself go away? I just taught you to make yourself go away. I didn't teach you to tell them to go away. They have the right to be there. When are you going to learn? Can you tell him to go away? He has the right to be here. How dare you tell him to go away? How dare I tell you to go away? You should go away on your own. I won't tell you to go away. You understand? I just taught you. If you feel the life is boring and meaningless, it's you who feeling it that way. All you have to do, enter this samadhi where there's no more you, and then there's no more suffering. Your approach is wrong, sir. You're blaming others instead of working on yourself. That's why once you empty yourself, does he bother you anymore? G.I. Joe, he can go and kill people and do whatever G.I. Joe does. It doesn't bother you. You still can look at him as your friend, as a human being. Nothing bothers you, including Donald Trump. Doesn't bother you, right? No, it doesn't. You a Republican? Yes, sir. 9.
Master, just to add to what Alex was talking about, I feel the same way too. Sometimes I do feel like when I'm in samadhi or some kind of stillness, there are no problems, but I am also not there. So this solution, even though it works, it feels like throwing the baby with the bathwater. You have a problem, chop your head off, no problem. Is that the only way to solve this problem, or is there any other way where there can be, I can exist as me, because there are a lot of other things about me that I like. I don't want the suffering that I face, but do I have to kill myself to not have any suffering?
Who says you have to kill yourself?
Because samadhi feels like that.
The samadhi, when you enter samadhi, were you dead? You came back, didn't you?
But my personality is gone. I don't have any thoughts. I don't have any memories. I'm just like in a blank, still space. But where is the character in it?
What's the character in it? Is this a choice? The choice is that you can be a victim to your emotions, your feelings. You know, in daily life, you choose to be that way because when you married to your wife, you have to be a victim. Oh, I take it back. Sorry, okay, all the women of the world. Okay? There's a choice. When you marry someone, there's a choice. You can say, for richer, for poorer, in sickness, in health, something along that line. I will be with you. Therefore, I will suffer with you. I will enjoy my life, myself with you. I will suffer with you. Yeah? There's that commitment.
Yeah.
That's what you choose. That's what you chose to do. And then you're learning a skill. This is when it becomes so unbearable, let me take a break. I'll be back. You're not dead. You simply, I'm going to take a break. That's another way to take a break, yeah? Another way to take a break, yeah? You're learning a wholesome way to take a break where you're still your whole self. When you come back stronger and more patient, more loving. There's some clear advantages there. I submit to you. That's what happened to all of my disciples. All of them. There's a choice. We're not advocating you should run away from your obligations, but we're giving you the chance to develop the skills to restore balance yourself and come back stronger, clearer-headed, more loving, more patient.
Thank you, Master.
Okay, understand that? Okay, this is so important for you to understand. I'm glad you asked all these questions. It's very important to you because I lived in this for a long, long time, for decades. And so when I explain things to you, it's from my perspective, not from your perspectives. So feel free to ask me, okay? You may sound like an idiot to me, but I can live with it. I gotta have fun too, guys. I mean, you having fun, I need to have fun too. Okay? It's fantastic because it's about choice. Ordinary people in the first group, they have no choice because they're pursuing the wrong instructions. They're choosing to seek the extraordinary when the most fundamental thing of this nature of the suffering is an ego. You cannot deny that. Who's suffering? I am suffering. You are suffering. It's so fundamental. And what you do when you're suffering, you choose to go have a drink. You choose to go blame someone else when you could solve the problem by eliminating the who's suffering instead of chasing outside. If you chase outside, you will not find an answer. But you, in Buddhism, in these small vehicles here, they're taught to empty themselves. Who's suffering? When they realize they're suffering, what do? They enter this samadhi and poof, suffering. That's how they restore balance. And when they exit samadhi, they come back with fresh perspectives, renewed energy. So you have a balance here. That's a middle way. If you only know suffering and you you combat suffering by the wrong means, okay? You sink deeper into your suffering. You're not resolving your suffering. Whereas when you suffer so much and you can't take it anymore, you get out. You clear your head and you come back, look at the problem again, and say, I still don't know what to do. Let me get out. Clear my head and come back and look at it again. It's your choice. It's a skill. It's a fundamental skill for life, folks. It's so important for your own life. If you don't do it, who's going to do it for you? Ordinary people suffer so much because they don't know of that technology. That's why we call them confused. Wisdom here refers to you need to learn to put an end to your ego and therefore all your sufferings. And a special feeling, folks. Imagine you're suffering so much, yeah? Because you look at your wife, your mother, they're hurt. How can you not be hurt? How can you not suffer? Yeah? The more you love them, the more they suffer, you will suffer just as much. Almost as much, I would say. It's overwhelming. You need to take a break and come back and help them carry the burden. Yeah? Until you can't take it anymore, get out. Come back. That's how you help. Because if you didn't do that, what does your mother have to do? She has to take medication. She has to take, have a drink. Have to do rely on things to relieve the suffering. Yeah? You don't have to do that. She can release the suffering on you. Lean on your shoulders. Let me tell you, it helped tremendously. The main thing is that your head is clear. You will not sink with her, him, because they're overwhelmed, but you won't be overwhelmed. You'll be dependable. You can be leaned on. When they can't take it, they can lean on your shoulders. And then when you can't take it, you step away for 5-10 minutes to restore balance and come back. Hey, excuse me, I need to go to the restroom. I'll be right back. It's fantastic. That's wisdom. Because you can handle your suffering yourself and depend on nothing, on no one. Okay? And so the small vehicles, they can empty themselves, but they cannot help you empty yourselves. Therefore, they only know half of the equation, how to empty yourself. They have to learn how to help you empty yourselves. That's Buddhism. I ask you, if you can empty yourself and you see your daughter suffer, can you be happy just stopping there? Of course not. He said, I need to learn to know more so that I can help my daughter, my mother, my father, the people I love, to end the suffering too. That's the third group. Oh, not yet. Here. Got that? Okay? 2.
Thank you, Master. I have a couple of questions here. I have a question here from someone who is named Tiger of the North. But if the idea is to abandon the self, how can you ever come back to the self afterwards? Isn't that the worst option according to Buddhism?
You enter samadhi, which makes the self disappear. When you exit samadhi, the self reappears. Second question.
The second question is from Ray Zhuang. Master, does the process of repeatedly entering samadhi naturally help us shed our attachments so that eventually the things that afflict us can stop afflicting us?
That's correct. You can see clearer why you're suffering. That's a natural process. Okay, it doesn't end there. JC.
예, 질문 드리겠습니다, 마스터 아미타불. 저희 집안에서 저희 와이프랑 이제 제 딸이 이제 잠을 자는데 위층에서 자주 이제 괴성이 들립니다. 아마 가족들끼리 좀 다툼이 심한 것 같은데 소리를 막 지르거나 그리고 막 욕을 하고 막 이런 괴성들이 막 위층에서 막 새벽에 들릴 때가 있습니다. 여기까지 해석 인터프리테이션 부탁드립니다.
Master, when my wife and daughter sleeps, from the next level, from the ceiling, we can hear some sound. They seem to quarrel. They argue in the early morning.
얼리모닝 왜 올라이트로 이제 될 때가 있고요. 그래서 굉장히 잠을 잘 못 잘 때가 있습니다. 1시간에서 2시간 지속될 때도 있고 그런데 제가 이제 그러면 제가 다른 방에 있다가 제가 와서 이제 좀 달래주고 하는데 제가 그래서 와이프한테 이제 연보를 좀 열심히 해라. 그게 에너지가 좀 네거티브 에너지가 영향을 미칠 수가 있으니까 그렇게 하거나 혹은 42분 15분 쉴드를 하거나 그렇게 좀 적극적으로 좀 대처를 해야 되지 않느냐 이렇게 조언을 주곤 합니다.
So they cannot sleep, so it lasts 1 hour or 2 hours. So I told my wife that recite Buddha's name or do 42 hands and eyes, number 15.
왜냐면 제가 이제 다른 방에 있을 때가 많기 때문에 그렇게 하는데 와이프는 이제 비몽사몽하고 잠을 자고 있으니까 굳이 그렇게 적극적으로 대처를 안 하고 그냥 들리다 그냥 막 괴성 지르다가 그럼 없어지겠죠. 그냥 잠이 들곤 하는데 제가 여쭈고 싶은 거는 이렇게 좀 1시간 동안이나 위에서 막 괴성이 진행되고 막 싸우는 게 좀 심하게 될 때 적극적으로 좀 와이프나 하여튼 저희 가족이 하여튼 연부를 하면서 좀 이런 걸 좀 대처를 해야 되는 거 아닌가 그런 생각이 들어서 왜냐하면 이게 거의 매일 되고 있어서요 최근에 그런 적극적으로 연부를 해서 적극적으로 대처를 해야 되는 게 아닐지 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
But my wife just endure the sound and then just wait for the sound ending. So my question is that when our neighbor argues seriously and they continue arguing, then can we do recite to reduce the negative energy?
To reach what?
When our neighbors argue very seriously, and then that happen every day these days. So at that time, we just ignore them, or we have to do something like reciting Buddha's name.
If your neighbors are noisy, you bear it, you endure it. Endure. That's all. When you meditate, you cross your legs and things are not happening as the way you want to, endure. Stop blaming others. Okay? So let me explain the 748 here and then we stop. Okay? So the small vehicles, I need to clarify for you and apologize if I cause any confusion. The small vehicles understand the emptiness of people, okay, meaning that there's no ego, okay, but they don't understand the emptiness of dharmas. Okay, that's all you need to know for now, okay? Don't try to understand too much. So they're stuck on that knowledge. The Dharma is a D. This refers to that the concept of the emptiness of people is a Dharma in Buddhism. Is that clear? I am empty. Okay, emptiness is a concept. Is a Dharma in Buddhism. We teach you about the Dharma of emptiness. Okay? So the arhats got to this level where they realized they empty the ego, and therefore the Dharma that we taught them to bring them to that point that where they're able to empty the ego, they're attached to it. Because they said, this is so cool, this is so fantastic, no more suffering. I can't ask for better than this. The attachment to that state of emptiness, a state of happiness right there, freedom from all suffering, is something so incredible that they never experienced before. They're attached to that. Okay? That's why they haven't understood the emptiness of dharmas yet. There's still the concept of emptiness of the ego. Okay? They haven't let go of that concept yet. The ego is empty, but they still attach to the concept of the ego is empty. Okay? That Dharma, remember, refers to the emptiness of the ego. So the knowledge is actually harmful to them. They don't realize it. Okay? That's all you need to know. Well, that's why in Buddhism, we're very sophisticated. We know all the pitfalls. Where you are right now, I know where your pitfalls are. Okay? And without saying anything, you come to the temple, naturally, you'll be taught, you'll be led on how to overcome those pitfalls, naturally. Okay? And that's why now we get to the Avatamsaka Sutra. Okay, now I explain to you the principles behind those processes that we've been putting you through, our people through, the last 17, 18 years. We let you through all these pitfalls without explaining to you, to prove to you that knowledge is garbage. That knowledge, when you don't need to know, we don't tell you, because once we tell you this concept of emptiness of the ego, and you're hooked on that, you get in trouble. And that's why we also prepare you for that moment. When you get there, you will not be stuck. Because you prepared already. As of tonight. You know that once you get to the ego being empty, don't stop, continue. That's an antidote to this non-emptiness of the Dharma. Is that clear? It's vision. It's big, long-range planning, folks. So that goes to prove to you, I remind you, all of you, I haven't taught you the principles. I only show you how to overcome your obstructions all these years. Okay? And you're there. But you don't know the principles behind it. Now, the Avatamsaka Sutra, I explain to you the principles behind it. So now, when you understand this, it's your turn to become a teacher yourselves. Because Buddhism has two parts, principles and practice. I taught you the practice. These are the most difficult thing to do because most teachers don't understand this practice. Okay? To bring you up there. Once you're up here, I can explain principles to you very easily. You can grasp them just like that. Once you're up here, I explain, okay, when actually the principle behind the foundation is this, and you say, oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. In no time. Whereas the professors, the people, the typical Buddhist practitioners, like Chuck Yon, like you Koreans over there, you Vietnamese over here, you learn the principle. That woman right there, she loves the principles, how beautiful the principles are. But the principles, remember, will get you stuck. Same thing, emptiness of the Dharma here. The more you know, the easier it is for you to get stuck and think you're special, you know it all. And that's the pitfalls of Buddhism nowadays. Nowadays, your monks and nuns are interested in only getting a PhD in Buddhology and then proving to you that they have the certificate that they understand the principles. But they don't know how to implement the principles. They only understand this principle down here. You read 10,000 books, it's still down here. You cannot penetrate the depth of the principles. If I tell them, I ask them, do you understand what is emptiness of the self? They say, of course, I understand emptiness of self. There's no self. Then I ask, do you have a self or no self? They say, I don't know. When they say, I don't know, you know they still have a self. Because there's an I left. Yeah? That's a pitfall of Buddhism nowadays, folks. People learn words and they become experts, scholars right away. And they said, when I opened my mouth and said, you should cross your legs, I said, what's the point? I understand it's empty anyway. My body's empty anyway. So why do I need to endure the leg pains? That means that they're afraid of the leg pains. There's an I who's afraid of the leg pains. It's all talk. You got it? I only teach you what to do to climb up there. Now I teach you the principles. DTT.
아공을 깨닫는 게 자아가 공하다는 걸 깨닫는 게 아란이라면 법공을 깨닫는 게 혹시 진공을 증득하는 것인지 질문드립니다.
If we attain the emptiness of Dharma, then can we attain the true emptiness?
Possibly. When it's time, I will teach you how to understand true emptiness. Okay? All right. So that's what slide 48 is. Half word, Nirvana, Sutra, and so forth. So you have two concepts here. Emptiness of the self, emptiness of the Dharma. So the group number 2, these Hinayana people practically, they understand they can empty the ego, but they're stuck there because they don't understand emptiness of the Dharma. They're stuck on that knowledge of emptiness. Okay? Thank you, everyone. We stop here tonight.